Hello, and welcome back to If History Had Read It. Thank you for joining me once again, here in our quiet library of forgotten voices. Find a comfortable position, let your body settle, and allow the noise of the present day to soften and recede. Tonight, we journey not along a single road, but 1,000 fragile threads of commerce and culture stretching across the known world. We travel the legendary Silk Road. If you find some measure of comfort or quiet fascination in these stories from the past, I would be grateful if you considered liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support is what allows this library to keep its doors open. And now, settle in. Let your mind drift. Tonight, we trace the path of a single precious commodity, not through the eyes of kings, but through the quiet anxieties of those whose lives were defined by it. We will hear from the weaver whose hands create the prize, the guide who reads the stars, the guard who endures the endless road, and the buyer in a distant land who receives the near-mythical treasure. We will explore what it was truly like, surviving the Silk Road as a Roman caravan guard, and more. Our journey begins not in the dust of a desert track, nor in the crowded bazaar of a distant city, but in a place of quiet, rhythmic, and relentless creation. We travel back to the heart of the Han Dynasty, to the lands surrounding its magnificent capital, Chang'an. Imagine a city of sprawling palaces and towering walls, a metropolis that pulsed with the power of a consolidated empire. From here, the Son of Heaven governed a vast and intricate domain, and from here, edicts and armies flowed outwards, shaping the world. But the true power of the empire was not held only in the tip of a soldier's spear or the ink of a bureaucrat's brush. It was also spun from the most delicate of threads, a substance so fine, so luminous, that it was considered a treasure of the gods. This was the age of silk, and its creation was not a simple craft, but a jealously guarded state secret, an engine of the imperial economy. Let us move away from the grand avenues of the capital, into the verdant countryside that fed it. Here, nestled amongst groves of mulberry trees, were the workshops. These were not quaint cottages humming with leisurely work. They were formidable, state-operated institutions, enclosed by high walls and overseen by vigilant supervisors. To the outside world, they were places of mystery. To the women who worked within, they were the entire world. Inside these walls, the air itself was different. It was thick with a unique blend of scents. The fresh, green aroma of chopped mulberry leaves, a constant supply for the insatiable charges of the workshop. Beneath that was a fainter, slightly acrid smell from the tens of thousands of silkworms, a smell of life and transformation. and woven through it all was the clean, earthy scent of dyes, of boiling water, and finally the almost imperceptible, clean fragrance of the finished silk itself. The dominant sound was the endless percussive music of the looms, 1,000 wooden shuttles flying back and forth, 1,000 treadles rising and falling in a complex, interlocking rhythm that never truly ceased during daylight hours. It was the sound that settled deep into the bones, the very heartbeat of the place. It was the sound of wealth being made, thread by thread. The halls were long and orderly, filled with rows upon rows of these great wooden machines. Light from high, paper-covered windows slanted down, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air and glinting off the impossible sheen of the finished fabrics. Here, women and girls spent their days, their movements economical and precise, honed by years of repetition. Their faces were often serene in their concentration, their minds focused entirely on the task at hand. For a single mistake, a single snagged thread could undo a week's worth of painstaking labor. This was the world of Liling, a young woman whose hands, though slender, were strong and sure. Her place was before a loom tasked with weaving the most complex patterns, the brocades destined for export or for the highest echelons of society. Her posture was straight, her focus absolute. She did not see the world beyond the workshop walls. She saw the warp and the weft. She saw the intricate dance of threads that she commanded with her feet on the treadles and her hands on the shuttle. She understood color not as it appeared on a flower or in the sky, but as it was meticulously prepared in the dye vats, the imperial yellow, the crimson, the deep indigo. Her life and the lives of all those around her was governed by the life cycle of a humble moth, Bombyx mori. The process was an art form elevated to an industrial science. It began in vast, quiet rooms where trays were stacked to the ceiling, each one layered with fresh, hand-chopped mulberry leaves. On these leaves lived the worms, eating with a faint rustling sound that, when multiplied by millions, was like a soft, constant rain. The women tended to them meticulously, ensuring the temperature and humidity were perfect, protecting them from loud noises or strong smells that might disrupt their delicate constitutions. After molting several times, the worms would enter their final stage, spinning their cocoons. For 3 days they would work, encasing themselves in a single, unbroken filament of raw silk, sometimes a kilometer long. This was the moment of transformation, the creation of the treasure. But it was a treasure that could only be harvested through a carefully timed act of destruction. Before the moth could emerge and break the precious thread, the cocoons were plunged into boiling water. This act, both brutal and necessary, killed the pupa inside and loosened the gummy protein that held the thread together. From these heated basins, the most delicate work began. The weavers would find the end of the filament an almost impossible task, and carefully unwind the cocoon, spooling the raw silk onto reels. Multiple filaments were then combined to form a single, robust thread, which was then cleaned, dyed, and finally brought to the looms. Li Lin understood this process intimately. She knew that the bolt of silk growing before her was not merely a piece of cloth. It was the culmination of a year of careful cultivation, of life and death, of immense, coordinated effort. And it was a tool of the state. She had heard the supervisors speak of the Xiongnu nomads to the north, pacified with gifts of silk. She knew that merchants, with their foreign faces and strange clothes, would come to designated markets to trade immense sums for these fabrics, which would then begin a journey she could not possibly imagine. The destination of her work was an abstraction. The names were just sounds. Dayuan, Anzi, Lijian. She had no picture in her mind of the deserts of fire, the mountains that touched the sky, or the great western sea. She could not conceive of a city like Rome, whose wealthy citizens would eventually wear the fabric she wove. Her world was the 100 paces of the workshop yard, the scent of the mulberry leaves, the feel of the thread beneath her fingertips, and the ever-present, watchful eyes of her supervisor, Mistress Wei. The pressure was immense. Every bolt was inspected. Its weight, its color, its texture, the perfection of its pattern. All were scrutinized. A flaw could mean a demotion, a loss of pay, or worse, the shame of being assigned to the roughest, coarsest fabrics destined for domestic use. Her identity, her worth, and her future were woven directly into the shimmering cloth on her loom. And on this particular week, the pressure felt heavier than usual. A special commission, a series of bolts for a particularly wealthy Sogdian merchant, was nearing completion. He was known to be fastidious, a man who could spot a flawed dye lot from 10 paces away. And Li Ling, in the quiet focus of her work, had noticed something that now filled her with a slow, creeping dread. It is this worry that brings us to her story. Let's turn now to a post from this isolated world, a world of profound skill and silent anxiety. Our first post tonight comes from Li Ling, a weaver at the heart of the Han Empire.
The work is done for the day. The shuttles are all silent. The sudden quiet is louder than the clatter that filled the hours before. My shoulders ache. My back is a straight line of fire from my neck to my waist. I sit on the edge of my sleeping mat. I should be hungry, but the rice ball in my hand feels like a stone. I cannot eat. All I can see is the bolt of cloth. Even now, in my mind, it glows. It is the color of the afternoon sun, the imperial yellow they call it. The pattern is of 2 phoenixes, their long tail feathers weaving between clouds. It took me 20 days, my finest work. When I finished the last thread, my heart was proud. I stood back and looked at it, and it was beautiful, perfect. Then the light from the high window shifted, and I saw it. It is near the end of the bolt, a section, maybe the length of my forearm. The yellow is not quite right. It is paler, just a little, like the dye was weaker there, like the thread drank less color. It is a ghost of the true yellow, a whisper. Most people would not see it. Another weaver, maybe, if she was looking for it. But I see it. Every time I close my eyes, it is there, a pale stripe on a field of sun. My heart fell into my stomach. I felt cold, even though the weaving hall was warm. I touched it. The silk is smooth. The weave is perfect. There is no knot, no snag, but the color is wrong. It is a flaw in its soul. I thought about hiding it, rolling the bolt tightly so the pale section was on the inside. Who would know? But the inspectors unroll every bolt. They measure it. They hold it to the light. They would find it. It is better if I find it first. That is what we are taught. My hands were shaking. I went to Mistress Way. She was marking her ledger. She did not look up for a long time. I stood there, feeling like a child. Finally, she sighed and looked at me. "What does it, Li-Ling?" I told her. My voice was small. I led her back to my loom. I showed her the spot. I pointed with a trembling finger. She looked at it. She squinted. She ran her own fingers over the cloth, her touch rougher than mine. She looked at it for a long time. The silence in that moment was heavier than my loom. Then she looked at me, not at the cloth. Her eyes were tired.
"It is nothing," she said. Her voice was flat. "But, mistress," I said, "the color, it is not uniform." "It is a slight variation," she said, her eyes drifting back to the bolt, then away again, as if it bored her. "The light plays tricks. The thread is from a different spool, perhaps. It is fine." "But the merchant," I said, "the Sogdian, they say his eyes are sharp. He is paying so much. What if he sees? What if he rejects the commission?" Mistress Way sighed again, a long, weary sound. "He is a foreigner, a barbarian. His eyes are not trained as ours are. He sees bright colors and a shiny surface. He will not see a slight shadow that you have to squint to find. He will be happy. Now, roll it up and take it to be recorded. Do not waste my time with this." She turned and walked away, just like that. I stood there. My heart was beating so fast. She said it was nothing. She is my supervisor. She has been a weaver since before I was born. I should trust her judgment. But my eyes tell me something different. My gut feels tight and cold. I did as she said. I rolled up the bolt. My hands felt clumsy. The beautiful phoenixes disappeared into the roll. The flawed section is now hidden in the middle, buried in layers of perfect silk. But I know it is there. I carried it to the inspection clerk. It felt so heavy. He weighed it. He marked his tablet. He did not unroll it. Not yet. He put it with the others for this commission. 10 bolts of the finest silk, ready for the merchant. 9 of them perfect. 1 of them a lie. This position at this loom is everything. I am a first-rank weaver. My family gets extra rice because of it. My mother tells everyone in our village that her daughter weaves cloth for the Son of Heaven himself. It is not true. I weave for rich men from far away, but it makes her proud. If I am demoted, if they put me on the coarse looms again, I remember it. The rough, dull cloth, the way it scraped my fingers, the shame of it. I cannot go back to that. All because of a little patch of pale yellow. Mistress Way is right about one thing. We know nothing of this merchant. We are just told to make the cloth. We are told he comes from the west, across the desert. He brings silver and strange things, and he takes our silk away. Where does it go? What does he do with it? Does he sell it to a king? Does a woman in a land with no mulberry trees wear it? A woman who does not know about the worms, the boiling water, the endless clatter of the looms? Does she know that my hands, my eyes, my entire life is in the cloth she wears? I wonder if she would see the flaw.
I try to tell myself Mistress Wei is right. She is older, wiser. She knows the way of things. Perhaps she is protecting me. If we reported the flaw, the whole bolt would be forfeit. I would be punished for wasting the thread. Maybe she thinks this is the safer path. A small risk is better than a certain punishment. But what if she is wrong? What if she is just tired? Tired of dealing with merchants and weavers and endless bolts of silk? What if she just does not care enough to look closely? The merchant is supposed to arrive in 2 days. He will come to the outer gate. The officials will show him the goods. He will not be allowed inside the workshop, of course. He will stand in the sunlight of the courtyard. He will have them unroll the bolts. I can see it in my mind. The sun will be bright, the silk will shine, and the light will catch that one pale stripe. His sharp eyes will see it. He will frown. He will refuse the bolt. The officials will be angry. They will ask who wove it. And Mistress Wei will not be able to protect me then. She will say, "It was Liling. I told her it was nothing. She is the one who made the mistake." I feel sick. I lie back on my mat and stare into the darkness. The air is cool now. Outside, the crickets are chirping. It is a peaceful sound. But in my head, the looms are still clattering, and I keep seeing a flash of pale yellow over and over again. My supervisor says the barbarian won't notice. I'm afraid he is the only one who will.
And so Liling's worry settles into the quiet dark of the workshop, a silent burden shared only with the night. Her predicament, seemingly so small, captures the delicate balance of her entire world. It highlights the immense pressure placed upon the individual creator at the very start of this vast intercontinental network. She is the first link in a chain that stretches for thousands of miles, yet she has no knowledge of its end. Her world is one of profound, disciplined isolation, a closed system of skill and fear, where the greatest reward is anonymity, and the greatest fear is a single observant eye. The bolt of yellow silk, now rolled and stored, has ceased to be a simple textile. It has become a vessel for her hope and her anxiety. Its value is measured differently by each person who will encounter it. For Liling, its value lies in its perfection, a testament to her skill. For her supervisor, its value is its expediency, its ability to pass inspection and be forgotten. For the distant merchant, its value is purely economic, a number in a ledger. And for its final owner, somewhere in a world Liling cannot even picture, its value will be something else entirely, a symbol of status, a touch of the exotic, a thing of beauty, its complex and fraught creation utterly invisible. This is the unseen truth of the Silk Road. Behind every precious commodity, behind every story of adventurous merchants and grand exchanges, lie these quiet human moments. The immense economic engine of the ancient world was fueled by countless individual acts of labor, each with its own story, its own silent anxieties. The threads of commerce were spun from the threads of human lives. Liling's part in the story is now over. Her creation, carrying its tiny secret flaw, will soon be handed over. It will pass through the guarded gates of the workshop, leaving her world of rhythmic certainty behind. It is destined for a place of radical uncertainty, a world of shifting sands and unpredictable dangers. The silk must now travel, and for that it requires a different kind of skill, a different kind of knowledge. It requires someone who can read not the language of the loom, but the language of the stars and the stones. We leave the humid, fragrant air of the silk workshop and travel westward to where the true journey begins. We now turn our attention to the one who must guide these treasures through the most formidable obstacles on earth. The silk, now a commodity, a unit of wealth bundled in protective cloth and leather, has begun its great migration. It has traveled by cart and by barge, passing from the heartlands of the Han into the wilder, less certain territories of the West. It has entered the domain of the caravan, a slow-moving, self-contained world, a fragile island of humanity inching its way across an immense and unforgiving landscape. And it is here, as the journey truly tests the limits of endurance, that our second story unfolds. We leave behind the low, humid plains and ascend. We climb into the breathtaking and brutal expanse of the Pamir Mountains, a place the locals call the roof of the world. Here, the very character of existence changes. The air grows thin and sharp, each breath a conscious effort that delivers less and less sustenance. The cold is a living thing, a predator that seeps through the thickest wool and fur, seeking out the warmth of blood and bone. The world is rendered in stark, magnificent simplicity. Above, the sky is a shade of deep, piercing blue that seems almost solid, a color seldom seen in the lower world. Below, jagged peaks of gray rock and brilliant white ice tear at this canvas, creating a panorama of sublime, inhuman scale. The silence is profound. It is not an absence of sound, but a presence, a heavy, ringing quiet, broken only by the sharp whistle of the wind carving its way through high passes, the rhythmic crunch of feet on rock and snow, and the labored, steamy breathing of men and beasts. Through this landscape moves the caravan. From a distance, it is a mere thread, a dark, wavering line against the white and gray, utterly insignificant in the face of the mountain's immensity. It is a testament to human stubbornness. Great Bactrian camels, with their twin humps and disdainful expressions, carry the bulk of the cargo, their wide, soft feet surprisingly adept on the rocky terrain. Hardy mountain horses and yaks, their fur thick and shaggy, bear the rest of the supplies. And among them walk the men, a collection of merchants, guards, and handlers, their faces hidden behind scarves, their eyes squinting against the relentless glare of the sun on snow. At the head of this fragile procession walks one man who seems different from the rest. He carries no obvious wealth. His clothes are for function, not display. Layers of felt and leather, worn and supple with use. His focus is not on the precious cargo behind him, but on the world around him. This is Navid. He is a Bactrian, a man born of these mountains, and he is the guide. In the economy of the Silk Road, the guide's value is absolute. He is the keeper of the most precious commodity of all, the way forward. His authority comes not from a decree or a title, but from a quiet confidence that is earned with every correct step taken. The wealthy Sogdian merchant, whose entire fortune is tied up in the bundles of silk, is powerless here. The hired guards, with their swords and spears, are useless against the true dangers of this place. The sudden blizzard, the hidden crevasse, the avalanche-prone slope. All of them, from the richest merchant to the lowliest camel puller, place their lives in Navid's hands. Their survival is bound to the clarity of his judgment. Navid's knowledge, however, is not his own. It was not learned from a scroll or a map. In this part of the world, such maps do not exist. His knowledge is an inheritance, a legacy whispered from father to son across generations. His mind holds a chart of this landscape that is more detailed than any ink drawing could ever be. It is a map made of stories and landmarks, of warnings and promises. He knows that a certain triangular rock marks the beginning of a treacherous ice sheet. He knows that when the wind makes a particular sound in a narrow gorge, a storm is less than an hour away. He knows of a hidden spring tucked away in an alcove of rock that flows even in the deepest cold. This knowledge is his family's crown jewel, their identity, their source of income. It is guarded more fiercely than the merchant guards his silk. To reveal a secret past to an outsider would be to betray his ancestors and to bankrupt his descendants. But this legacy is also a profound burden. He does not walk these paths alone. With every step, he feels the presence of his father and his grandfather before him. Their voices are in the wind, their advice attached to every peak and valley. He is constantly measured against their memory, their successes, their failures. The need to prove worthy of their trust is a weight heavier than any pack he could carry. It is this weight that now presses down on him. The caravan has reached a critical juncture. The main pass, the wide and relatively safe route they had planned to take, is choked with the results of an unseasonably heavy snowfall. It is impassable. To wait for it to clear could take weeks. A delay, the merchant claims, would mean his ruin. Panic has begun to set in, a contagion of fear as cold as the mountain air. It is in this moment of crisis that Navid must draw upon his most secret knowledge. He knows another way, a shortcut, a path his great-grandfather discovered, a route that is not on any map, known to no other clan. It is dangerous, narrow, and frightening, but it will save them. The crew, however, sees it only as a mad deviation, a march towards certain doom. Navid finds himself caught between the merchant's desperation, his men's terror, and the quiet, insistent voice of his own ancestry. We now listen to the thoughts of the man whose mind is the only map that matters. Here is a post from Navid, the Bactrian guide, alone with his legacy on the roof of the world.
The wind has teeth up here. It finds every gap in my clothing. The air is so thin it feels like I am drinking dust. Before us, the great pass is a wall of white. It is not just snow. It is a deep, heavy blanket that has buried the path completely. It is beautiful, and it is deadly. It is a door that the mountain has closed and locked. Behind me, the caravan is a mess of nervous energy. The camels shift and groan. The men mutter to each other in low voices, their words snatched away by the wind. They are afraid. I can taste their fear. It is a sour thing. But Zaid, the merchant, his fear is different. It is hot and sharp. He came to me a moment ago, his face red from the cold and from anger. He grabbed my arm. His fingers were tight. "This is a disaster, Navid," he said, his voice a hiss. "A disaster. We will be trapped here for a month. My rivals will reach the markets in Angshi before me. I will be ruined." I looked at his face. He was not seeing the mountain. He was not seeing the danger of the snow. He was seeing a pile of silver coins melting away. I pulled my arm free. "We will not be trapped for a month," I said. My voice was calm. It must always be calm. "What then?" he demanded. "Will you command the sun to melt the snow for you?" I turned and pointed. To the south, there is a shadow on the face of the rock. It does not look like much. A crack, an imperfection. "There," I said, "there is another way." He stared. The head guard, Kale, came to stand beside him. Kale is a good man, a fighter, but he is a man of the flatlands. He does not understand the high places. They both looked where I was pointing. I could see the confusion in their eyes, then the disbelief. "What is that?" Kale asked. "A goat track?" "It is a path," I said. "My family's path."
I told them what my father told me. The route is called the goat's thread. My great-grandfather found it, following a wild herd. It is not for the faint of heart, but it is safe if you know the way. It will cut through the valley behind this ridge and meet the lower road. It will save us 2 weeks, maybe more. They looked at each other. They did not need to speak. I could see their answer. They think I am mad. We are stopped now. The men are setting up a rough camp. Zaid is in his tent, probably counting his imaginary losses. Kyle came to me again, this time without the merchant. He was respectful. He always is. "Navid," he said quietly, "the men are afraid. That path, it does not look like it can support a man, let alone a loaded camel." "The camels can make it," I told him. "The first ledge is the worst of it. After that, it widens. There is shelter, there is a way." "You have walked this path before?" he asked. I looked at the mountain. "The truth is difficult. I have walked it 1,000 times in my mind," I said. "My father walked it. He taught it to me. Every stone, every turn." I did not tell him how. I did not tell him about the nights by the fire, my father drawing the root in the dirt with a stick, his voice low and steady. "Here, son, the rock is loose. You must test every footstep. Here, the wind will try to push you from the mountain. You must lean into it, become part of the rock. And here," he would say, making a mark for a twisted, ancient juniper tree, "here is the heart of the path. When you see this tree, you know you are safe. It is the promise of the ancestor who found it." My father is gone. His voice is only in my head. Kyle sees only a madman pointing at a crack in a cliff. "It is an unknown risk," Kyle said. "The known risk is waiting here. It is slow, but it is safer. The snow on that pass will not be safe for weeks, and more will fall. Waiting here is a slow death. We will run out of fodder for the animals. The cold will weaken the men. Waiting is the greater risk. My path is the only way." He looked at me for a long time. I think he wanted to believe me. But he is responsible for his men. His fear is for them. My fear is for everyone. It is a heavier thing. I feel the weight of it now as I sit on this rock watching the sun begin to sink. The peaks are turning pink. It is beautiful, But the beauty has a cold edge tonight. I am alone. The men avoid my eyes. They think I am gambling with their lives to please the merchant. The merchant thinks I am not doing enough. They do not understand. The merchant's silver does not matter. The men's fear does not matter. The mountain does not care for these things. All that matters is the knowledge, the path. Is my knowledge enough? My father last walked the goat's thread 20 years ago. What if there has been a rockfall? What if the frozen waterfall my father spoke of is now a torrent? The mountain changes, but my father taught me how to read the changes. He taught me to listen. I look at the sky. I feel the air. I know a calm is coming. 3 days of clear, still weather. A window. A gift. It is the mountain's way of telling me the path is open. I have to trust it. I have to trust him. Trusting my father is the only way I know how to trust myself. I have made the decision. I stood before them all a few moments ago. I told them to get a full night's rest, to eat well. At dawn, I said, we take the goat's thread. No one said a word. Zaid stared at me, his mouth a thin, hard line. Kael just nodded once, his face grim. The others, they looked at the ground. They looked at the closed pass. They looked at the impossible path I have chosen. Now there is only the wind and the fading light. I have staked all of their lives and my own on a story told to me by a dead man. I have to believe that his ghost walks ahead of me. I have to trust the footsteps of my great-grandfather more than I trust the fear of living men. But as I sit here, in this great and terrible silence, a single question echoes in my heart. Am I right?
And with that decision, a heavy silence falls over the mountain camp, a silence deeper than the one imposed by the landscape itself. Navid's burden is now complete. It is the quintessential loneliness of command, the solitude of the expert, whose knowledge is both invisible and absolute. His story reveals that the most critical commodity on these treacherous routes was often not the silk in the packs, but the secret knowledge carried in a guide's mind. This was a wealth that could not be counted or stored, a map of memory passed down through blood and story. It was an inheritance that was both a family's greatest asset and its heaviest responsibility. In a world without charts or sextants, the quiet confidence of generations was the only true navigational tool. Navid's conflict is not merely with the mountain, it is with the nature of trust itself. He must ask others to wager their lives on a promise whispered to him by his father, to follow him into what looks like oblivion based on faith in his lineage. The entire enterprise of the caravan, this mobile microcosm of society, is held together by such fragile threads of trust. The merchant trusts the guide, the guards trust their captain, and everyone trusts that the journey is worth the risk. Navid's choice highlights the immense psychological pressure on the individuals who had to shoulder that trust, making life or death decisions far from any semblance of civilization or support. His ordeal is a quiet testament to the unseen struggles of leadership and legacy that underpinned every successful crossing. Assuming Navid's ancestral knowledge proves true, and his path leads the caravan down from the freezing peaks, the dangers are far from over.
The natural obstacles of the landscape, the snow, the wind, the treacherous footing, are only one type of threat. As the caravan descends into the lower, more populated lands of the Parthian plateau, it will face dangers of a different sort, dangers that are human in origin. For this, they rely not on a guide, but on the men paid to carry swords. We now shift our perspective from the man who leads the caravan to one of the men who protects it. We leave the high, thin air of the mountains and descend to the dusty, smoky warmth of a desert caravanserai to listen to the thoughts of a man for whom the journey is not a matter of legacy or profit, but simply a long and tedious job.
Our caravan, having descended from the roof of the world, now plods across the vast, arid plains of the Parthian Empire. The landscape has changed from vertical to horizontal. The stark peaks replaced by an endless, shimmering horizon. The primary danger is no longer the environment itself, but the emptiness it holds. An emptiness that can conceal threats both real and imagined. After weeks in this dusty void, the sight of a caravanserai is a vision of paradise. Imagine a great square fortress of sun-dried mud brick rising from the flat earth. It is a bastion against the desert, its high walls offering the promise of security, water, and rest. As dusk begins to bleed purple and orange across the sky, our caravan joins a stream of others, funneling through the single massive gate. Inside is a world unto itself, a temporary city built of campfires and camaraderie. The central courtyard is a scene of managed chaos. The air hums with a dozen languages, a liquid babble of Sogdian, Parthian, Aramaic, and tongues from even farther east. Bactrian camels, having been relieved of their precious burdens, groan contentedly as they are fed and watered in stone troughs. The air is thick with smells, the sharp, earthy scent of livestock, the sweet aroma of wood smoke, and the tantalizing hints of roasting meat and baking flatbread. A torment and a delight to men who have lived on dried rations for weeks. In one corner, the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer rings out, mending a broken axle. In another, a musician coaxes a lonely, haunting melody from a stringed instrument. This is a nexus point, a vital organ in the circulatory system of the Silk Road. In this melting pot of humanity are men like Marcus. They are the quiet, watchful figures who linger at the edges of the firelight, their hands never far from the hilt of a sword. They are the guards, the hired muscle, the insurance policy against the journey's human dangers. Their presence is a deterrent, a clear signal that this caravan is not easy prey for the bandits who haunt these trade routes like wolves. Marcus is a man far from home, a former auxiliary in the Roman army. He is a product of the empire's western frontier, and now he finds himself deep in the territory of Rome's greatest rival. His Latin tongue is of little use here, and his ways are not their ways. He is an outsider, a specialist selling a very particular skill, organized violence, and the discipline to endure hardship. He was trained to march, to fight, and to obey. These skills, it turns out, are just as valuable to a merchant as they are to a centurion. But the romantic notion of a caravan guard, a life of constant adventure and daring clashes, is a fiction told by those who have never walked the path. While the threat of a raid was a terrifying possibility that kept every man vigilant, it was a rare and brief explosion of violence. The true enemy of the caravan guard was not the bandit, but the journey itself. It was an enemy that attacked not with swords, but with monotony. Imagine the daily reality. Waking before dawn in the biting cold, a meager meal of hard bread and dried meat, washed down with brackish water. Then the long walk, hour after hour, at the slow, plodding pace of a loaded camel. The sun climbs, beating down with a merciless heat. The landscape is unchanging, dust, rock, and scrub for days, for weeks. The same faces, the same complaining animals, the same silence broken only by the wind and the creak of leather. This is a different kind of battle, a siege against the human spirit. The physical discomfort becomes a constant state of being. The sweat and dust that cake the skin, the chafing of a leather cuirass, the dull ache in the legs and back that never fully subsides. The diet, a necessity for preservation, becomes a form of torture. The body craves freshness, a piece of fruit, the clean taste of good water, but there is only the salt, the grease, and the grain. This is the world of Marcus. He sits by a small fire, the warmth a welcome comfort against the desert's nightly chill. He has survived another leg of the journey. He is safe within these walls. But safety has brought no relief, only the space for his mind to dwell on the sheer, soul-crushing grind of his existence. His struggle is not with a great evil, but with the accumulation of 1,000 small miseries. Let us now listen to the quiet complaint of a working soldier, a man for whom the grand adventure of the Silk Road has been reduced to a longing for a decent meal. Here is a post from Marcus, the Roman guard.
The fire feels good. It's the first time I'd been properly warm in a week. Out in the desert, the nights are so cold you feel it in your teeth. But you can't have a big fire. Too much attention. Here, inside these walls, there are 50 fires. It feels safe. The guards on the walls are someone else's problem tonight. My feet are up. My sword is next to me. I should feel good. But then I smell it. From the big fire, where the merchant Zaid is with his friends, I smell roasting lamb. I can hear the fat sizzling. I can smell spices, things I don't have names for. It makes my stomach ache with hunger. I look down at what I'm eating. The same thing I've eaten every day for 62 days. A piece of hardtack biscuit. It's like chewing on a rock. I have to soak it in water just to break it with my teeth. And a strip of dried meat. It's so salty and makes my tongue curl. It's greasy and tough. This is my dinner. This is my life. I signed on for this job in Antioch. The pay was good, better than the army. Guard a caravan to the lens of the Ceres, the man said. It sounded important, adventurous. I imagined fighting off bandits, seeing strange cities, earning a bag of silver. I was a fool. I didn't ask about the food. For the first week, it was fine. You eat what you're given. It's fuel, just like in the Legion. But after a month, it starts to wear on you. Your body starts to crave things. Not just better food. Any other food. I dream about fruit. Last night, I had a dream I was sitting under a fig tree. I could feel the soft skin of a ripe fig in my hand. I could taste the sweetness. I woke up and my mouth was dry, and the first thing I tasted was the stale, dusty air of the tent. I almost wept.
I would trade a month's pay for a peach right now. I would hand over the silver for one single ripe peach, the kind that drips down your chin. I try to remember what it tastes like, but the memory is fading. It's being buried under all this salt and grease. The worst part is, the job is boring. So boring, it makes your bones hurt. When you sign on to be a guard, you expect danger. And there is danger, yes. We were shadowed by a dozen riders for a week after we left the mountains. We slept in our armor. Every shadow was a threat. My heart was in my throat the whole time. That was exciting, in a terrifying way. But it only lasted a week. What about the other 7 weeks? Walking. That's the job. You get up, you walk next to a smelly camel all day. You stare at the horizon. In the desert, the horizon never changes. It's just a flat line of brown and yellow, all day, every day. There is nothing to look at, nothing to think about. You try to remember songs, but you forget the words. You try to think about home, but it feels like another life. So you just walk, and you think about how much your feet hurt, and you think about how hungry you are. The boredom is a kind of madness. It makes you angry for no reason. A man next to me tripped yesterday, and I wanted to laugh, but also I wanted to draw my sword and scream at him. For nothing. Just because the silence and the walking gets inside you and turns everything sour. And the food makes it worse. A good meal can fix a bad day. It gives you something to look forward to. But here, the day ends, and you know you're going to chew on another piece of leather and a rock and go to sleep and wake up and do it all again. There's no relief. I look around the fire. There are 10 of us guards. We don't talk much. A few of us are Parthians. There's a Scythian who only speaks his own tongue. We just nod at each other. We are all tired. We are all dirty. We are all dreaming of something else. We are a company of miserable men. The guide, Navid, he seems content. He chews on dried roots he finds along the way. He never complains. Maybe he's a ghost. The merchant, Zaid, he eats well. He has his own stash of dates and nuts and preserved fruit. He shares it with his friends, not with the men who guard his life. I watch him pop a date into his mouth, and I feel a flash of pure hatred. It's not right. We are a week away from the next big oasis. They say it's a city. They say you can buy anything there. I don't care about silks or spices. I am going to take my pay and I am going to buy a whole basket of dates and a melon and maybe some grapes. I will sit by myself and eat until I am sick.
That's my great ambition. That's what this grand adventure has come to. I wonder how other men do it. Men on ships, sailors who are at sea for months, other soldiers on long campaigns. How do you cope with it? With the sheer, soul-crushing boredom of it all. The bad food, the endless days, the feeling that you're becoming a ghost, a walking machine that just needs salt and water to keep moving. What are the tricks? Do you sing? Do you tell stories? Do you just let your mind go blank and hope you're still there when it's all over? Right now, all I can think about is that smell of roasting lamb and the stale biscuit in my hand. I think this job is a lie. The danger isn't the bandits. The danger is that one day you'll just stop walking, sit down in the dust, and refuse to ever eat another piece of salted meat again, even if it kills you.
Marcus's quiet lament by the fire offers us a perspective often lost in the grand tales of trade and adventure. It is the unvarnished truth of the working man, for whom the Silk Road was not a path to glory, but a long and grueling job. His complaint, seemingly focused on the simple misery of bad food, speaks to a deeper, more profound hardship, the slow, corrosive effect of monotony on the human spirit. His story strips away the romance of the journey and exposes the stark reality of logistics in the ancient world. The great caravans that linked empires were not just feats of navigation and courage. They were exercises in enduring profound discomfort. The daily battle for men like Marcus was not fought against bandits, but against the internal enemies of boredom, fatigue, and despair. His longing for a simple piece of fruit is a longing for normalcy, a sensory reminder of a home and a life that the endless, featureless plains of Parthia threatened to erase from memory. This was the quiet, unglamorous foundation upon which the global economy was built. For every merchant counting his potential profits, and for every guide reading the stars, there were a dozen men like Marcus, counting the days until the next rest stop, their world shrunk to the next meal and the ache in their feet. Their survival was not a matter of a single heroic act, but of the cumulative will to simply keep going, one tedious step at a time. The true cost of the journey was not always measured in silver, but in this slow attrition of the soul. And yet, this entire immense effort, the weaver's anxiety, the guide's burden, the guard's endurance, was all focused on a single destination. The long road must eventually come to an end. The silk, having survived its creation, the mountains and the deserts, is about to complete its journey. It travels now across the sea, towards the very heart of the Western world, the city of Rome. We leave the dusty communal warmth of the caravanserai and travel to a world of marble, mosaic, and unimaginable wealth. We arrive at the end of the line to witness the moment the prize is finally unveiled, and to understand its ultimate cost from the perspective of the one who must pay it.
We have crossed continents. Our journey, which began in the humid, controlled environment of a Han Dynasty workshop, has traversed the highest mountains on Earth and the most desolate of deserts. It has weathered the anxieties of creation, the burdens of navigation, and the soul-crushing monotony of the long road. Now we arrive at its final destination. We are in Rome. The world here is different. It is not a world of survival, but of presentation. It is not a landscape of raw nature, but one of monumental, man-made order. We find ourselves not in a camp or a caravanserai, but within the walls of a grand villa on one of Rome's 7 hills. This is the home of a senator, a man of power and immense wealth, and it is a statement of that power, crafted from marble, mosaic, and light. Let us step into the atrium, the heart of the Roman home. The air is cool and still. Above, a rectangular opening in the roof, the compluvium, frames a perfect square of the deep blue Italian sky. Below it, a shallow pool, the impluvium, captures the light, its surface disturbed only by the gentle trickle of a nearby fountain. The sounds of the bustling city outside are a distant, muted hum, unable to penetrate these walls of quiet authority. The floors are a symphony of tiny colored stones, mosaics depicting scenes from myth, the wiles of Jupiter, the labors of Heracles. The walls are covered in vibrant frescoes, creating windows into a world of gods and heroes. The air is clean, carrying the scent of water on marble and the delicate fragrance of roses and lilies drifting in from the peristyle garden visible in the adjoining courtyard. This is the domain of Flavia, the senator's wife. She is the domina, the mistress of this vast and complex household. Her life is a careful performance of status. Her responsibilities are to manage the household slaves, to oversee her children's education, and, most importantly, to maintain and display the family's position in the fiercely competitive social hierarchy of the Roman elite. Every choice, from the food served at a banquet to the jewelry she wears, is a calculated move in this intricate game. Today, a special event is taking place in the quiet of her atrium. A merchant, a purveyor of exotic Eastern goods, has been granted an audience. He and his assistants, with quiet reverence, have just unfurled several bolts of cloth onto a polished wooden table. This is sericum, silk, the cloth of legend.
To the Romans, silk was a substance of pure myth. They did not know its origin, with some scholars, like Pliny the Elder, speculating that it was a down combed from the leaves of trees in a far-off land called Seers. Its qualities were otherworldly. It was lighter than linen, warmer than wool, and it held dyes with a vibrancy that was almost supernatural. It seemed to glow with its own internal light, shimmering and flowing over the body in a way no other fabric could. It was the absolute pinnacle of luxury, a material so decadent and so associated with feminine sensuality that laws were sometimes passed and routinely ignored, attempting to forbid men from wearing it, lest it erode their Roman masculinity. But this magical substance came at a truly staggering price. a pound of the highest quality silk could command a price equal to a pound of gold. And this was the source of a deep and persistent anxiety for the Roman state. Thinkers and moralists decried the river of wealth, gold and silver coins that flowed ceaselessly eastward to pay for these luxuries. They argued that the empire was bleeding itself dry, trading its hard currency for soft fabrics and fragrant spices. This trade deficit was seen as a sign of moral decay, a symptom of a society that had lost its traditional Roman virtues of austerity and discipline. For Flavia, standing in her magnificent atrium, this grand economic problem has become a deeply personal one. The purchase of this silk is not a casual indulgence. It is a colossal expense. Her husband, seeking to please her and to ensure she is not outshone by the wives of other senators, has agreed to it. But she knows the cost. She has seen the figures in the family ledger. The price of these few bolts of cloth is equivalent to the entire income of their family's vineyard in Campania for a year. It is a tangible piece of their fortune converted into shimmering fabric. The silk lies before her, a pool of impossible color in the cool light of the atrium. It is everything the stories promised. It is breathtaking. And yet, as she looks upon its beauty, she feels a cold knot of guilt and worry forming in her stomach. The desire to possess it, the social need to display it, is at war with the crushing reality of its cost. The transaction is complete, but the calculation has just begun. We turn now to the final account in our chain, the perspective from the very end of the line. Here is a post from Flavia, a Roman matron, weighing the value of a legend against the price of her own security.
The merchant has gone. The atrium is silent again, except for the sound of the fountain. The bolts of cloth are still on the table. They left them for me. 3 rolls of pure sericum. I am alone with them now. I reach out and touch the first bolt. It is the color of a peacock's throat, a deep, shimmering blue-green. My fingers sink into it. It feels like nothing I know. It is not wool or linen. It is like touching cool water that is somehow dry. It is impossibly smooth. I lift a corner of the fabric. It weighs nothing. It is like holding a piece of the evening sky in my hand. The light from the compluvium catches it, and a ripple of pure light runs across the surface. It is magic. The second bolt is red, a deep, true red, the color of good wine or fresh blood. I imagine the gown it will make. When I walk into Livia's dining hall wearing it, she will stop talking. She will stare. She and her pale yellow dress will fade into the wall. Everyone will look at me. They will see the wife of Lucius. They will see power. My husband, Lucius, was good to me. He saw the longing in my eyes when the merchant first showed us the samples. "Nothing should be denied to you, my dear Flavia," he said. He smiled, but when he turned to speak with the merchant's clerk, I saw his jaw was tight. He did not want me to see, but I saw. He has indulged me. He has given me what I wanted, what I told him I needed. Now I feel sick. Before the merchant left, I saw Lucius's steward, Decimus, make an entry in the household ledger. It is a large wax tablet where all our family's accounts are kept. After they had all gone, I asked to see it. Decimus looked surprised, but he brought it to me. I am looking at it now. The tablet rests on the table next to the silk.
The number is there, etched into the black wax. A figure in silver denarii. It is a number so large it seems unreal. Below it, Decimus has made a note of what it means, what we will have to sell to cover this expense. The vineyard at Baiae, it says. Our vineyard. Not just any vineyard. It has been in Lucius's family for 200 years. It overlooks the sea. I have been there. I remember the warmth of the sun, the smell of the salt air mixed with the rich smell of the earth. I remember the gnarled old vines, thick as my arm. It is a good vineyard. It produces strong, dark wine that we serve to our most important guests. It produces an income every single year. It is real. It is Roman earth. It is security. And I have traded it for this. For 3 rolls of colored cloth. I feel a chill, even though the air is warm. I run my hand over the peacock-colored silk again. Is it worth a vineyard? Is it worth the land that fed Lucius's ancestors? The old men in the Senate, the ones who praise the memory of Cato, they are always complaining about this, about women's luxuries. They say we drain the treasury of the Republic, sending our silver to the strange peoples of the East. They say we are becoming soft, decadent. I used to laugh at them. They are old fools, I thought, who do not understand the necessities of modern life. To maintain one's station, one must look the part. It is an investment, I told myself. An investment in our family's influence. But now, with the price written here in stark white lines on black wax, the old men's words echo in my head. They do not sound foolish anymore. They sound wise. I feel the shame they speak of. What have I done? I have traded a piece of our family's foundation, a piece of our strength, for a foreign vanity, for a thing that can be torn or stained, a thing that will be out of fashion in a few years. Where does it even come from? No one truly knows. The merchant says it is combed from the leaves of trees in a land called Ceres, a place on the other side of the world, a land of silent, mysterious people. It does not feel real. And I have traded my real, solid Roman earth for a piece of their myth. I try to tell myself it is necessary. I picture Livia's face again. I picture the other wives of the powerful men my husband needs to influence. Their eyes measuring my clothing, my jewelry, my home, judging my husband's success by my appearance. In this city, weakness is a death sentence. The appearance of poverty is the same as poverty itself. The silk is my armor. It is our armor. But the feeling of sickness does not go away. It is a cold, heavy stone in my stomach. I look at the beautiful, weightless fabric, and I feel crushed by it. The cost is too high. The moralists are right. This luxury, this obsession with things from far away, it is bankrupting us. Not just the Republic. It is bankrupting me, my family. Maybe not in silver, not yet. but in something else. In good sense, in security. I know my friends would not understand. They would only see the beauty. They would see the status. They would call me a fool for worrying when I have such a treasure in my hands. But this treasure feels like a curse. I look at the red silk, and I no longer see a gown. I see the red ink of a terrible debt. I think this might be the most unpopular opinion in all of Rome, but is this cloth of the gods really worth the price of our souls?
And so, in the quiet of her Roman atrium, the journey of the silk comes to an end. It has finished its long migration across the known world, arriving not in a marketplace, but in a private space of profound moral and financial calculation. Flavia's dilemma is the final unseen cost of the commodity, a cost measured in guilt and anxiety. She is the ultimate reason for the entire enterprise, the destination that gives the long road its purpose. Yet she is perhaps the most disconnected of all from the journey itself. Her story powerfully illustrates the strange alchemy of value. The bolt of silk, a physical object of thread and dye, has been a different thing to each person in our story. For Li Ling, its value was in its perfection and the security her skill provided. For Navid, it was precious cargo, the justification for risking his life and legacy. For Marcus, it was an abstract burden, the thing he was paid to defend, but whose worth he could only measure in the misery of his daily rations. And now, for Flavia, its value has transformed again, becoming a complex symbol of social ambition, economic recklessness, and personal guilt. The silk rests on her table, a silent testament to the invisible chain that connects these four lives. Flavia feels the immense weight of its price in silver, but she cannot feel the other burdens it has carried on its journey. The weight of the weaver's fear in a sealed workshop, the weight of the guide's responsibility on a frozen mountain pass, or the weight of the guard's boredom in an endless desert. Her story is the final poignant reminder of the profound disconnection at the heart of all long-distance trade. The consumer, for whom the entire system exists, rarely knows the true human cost of the goods they purchase. Flavia's quiet crisis completes our circle. Her internal conflict, born of luxury and status, is the distant, unforeseen consequence of a weaver's choice of dye, a guide's trust in his ancestors, and a guard's weary endurance. 4 lives, 4 moments of quiet anxiety, all bound together by a single shimmering thread. These 4 stories, separated by thousands of miles and vast cultural divides, are all part of one larger narrative. The Silk Road was not just a line on a map, it was a living network of human experience, a conduit for anxieties as much as for commerce. Each individual was a link in a chain, feeling the pull of their own specific burdens, yet often unaware of the others who depended on them. The weaver's fear of a single flawed thread is unknowingly connected to the senator's wife's fear of a single line in a ledger. The guide's faith in his ancestors is the unseen force that answers the merchant's prayers. The guard's mundane suffering is the quiet price of safe passage for a treasure he will never touch. The threads of silk that traveled this road were woven with these invisible human stories. They carried the weight of hope, doubt, duty, and desire.
They remind us that the grand movements of history are always built upon the small, quiet moments of individual lives. The great tapestry of our shared past is made not only of the deeds of kings and conquerors, but of the silent perseverance of the weaver, the guide, the guard, and the buyer. As we leave these stories to rest in the past, allow their echoes to gently fade. Let the path of the caravan dissolve into the quiet of your room. The journey is over. The anxieties have been laid down. There is only stillness now. May your rest be peaceful and your dreams be quiet. Until next time.